Hey everybody, I am back and I'm here to do a Wraithknight work in progress video. As I've mentioned to a number of you guys, as I'd mentioned in a prior video, I ended up getting the Assault on Black Reach box set for a really good deal. And so I had a number of orcs that I didn't really intend to buy the set for, but as soon as I knew I was getting the war boss, the orc war boss, I knew that he was sort of what I was looking for to put it on my base for the Wraithknight, because I wanted to deck out my base a bit, and just being that Bielton, orcs are their main enemy in the fluff and the lore. I wanted to keep in that vein and actually use the war boss on the base. And so what I ended up doing, and I'll just zoom out a little bit here, is I'm going to deck out this base a bit. It's not going to look exactly like this. He'll likely be kind of up like this a bit, like on a rock. But essentially, he normally is just facing forward with his face. So I ended up sawing off the head, and I ended up sculpting with green stuff a neck. And so I was actually happy with the way this came out, because I've actually done in a prior life, like 20 years ago, like I was into sculpture when I was in high school and stuff, but it's been a really long time since I've done any sculpture. And so I took the green stuff, and I have a bit of a slash there on the neck that I'm going to make some blood coming out of. Normally the chin came like all the way down to here, and I ended up putting a hole there purposely. I filled it in and I put a hole because I'm going to use some gore and blood effects in here. That's going to where one of his dying wounds is going to come from. But I put some musculature in the neck there, and then I position the head so rather than facing forward, it will be him kind of reaching up with his claw and just looking back, like, screaming like he's dying. Screaming in agony or in rage or something like that. Now, in order to do this, normally the arm is actually it's not outstretched as this one is, but it's actually like a typical Space Marine arm, or an arm where it's just pointing forward with a gun. And so I actually just ended up, this won't really be seen, but I ended up just filling a gap in with some green stuff in his arm. The fact that it's green and it's an orc actually is kind of fitting here. It makes it almost look appropriate, but it'll be all painted obviously. And so I ended up doing some gap filling as well in there, just because when the model's not positioned the way it's supposed to be, there is some significant gaps in this model. So even behind there's just sort of a crack, and so I just ended up filling that in. So that's my orc war boss that's going to be there sort of screaming. I kind of like doing the conversion, to be honest. I haven't done much conversion work, with miniatures. And so this was, neat. I enjoyed doing it, and it was nice to kind of just create a different effect. And so maybe it's something to get my feet wet in doing some of the miniature conversions, which was kind of cool. So now, more appropriately to the Wraithknight itself. I actually have been taking my time with this. I've just been really just doing a little bit every day, and just cutting stuff off the sprue and just getting the model together. What I've decided to do is I've decided to magnetize the model, but to a limited extent, not fully. And so areas that one area in particular that I've chosen not to magnetize is where the torso meets here. There are a couple of reasons for that. I mean, I'm a big fan of magnetization for weapon options, and in this case arm options, because the weapons are on the arms. But I've always felt, I've felt since doing this, that magnetizing also can create some problems. If you don't do it well, you have stuff falling all over the place. I mean, obviously the answer is to magnetize well and have the right magnets, but if you make a mistake in that regard, choosing the wrong magnet, placing it not exactly the way it should be, then you might have stuff falling off your model. It can be kind of annoying, or magnets not behaving the way you want them to. As well, you can damage the model if you're not careful, and so I guess that's the risk with just about anything, but essentially that's one of the reasons why I like to sometimes just keep the model the way it is and glue it if I can. Obviously, where there's options for weapons, I'm going to want to leverage the magnetizing. So the waist here for transport would be nice in some cases, but I don't want this guy. I don't have a magnet size. I've got 3 sizes, and I don't have a size that I'm comfortable with to actually have magnetized it. And so in order to compensate for that, I didn't have to, but since there'll be different weapon options, I actually magnetized the head because the arms are going to potentially move and are going to have different options, and so I might want him sort of pointing this way, you know, just for fun, or I might want him kind of coming front on this way, depending on what I've got. So, you know, I can add a little bit of flair, you know, but that's about where I left it. You know, the rest I tried to make it kind of functional. So I did, these are the largest magnets I have. They're 3/16 wide by, I think, 1/16 wide, or 2/16. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's 3 by 4/16 or something like that. 2/16 it looks like for the depth. But I didn't think that was enough for this, and so I didn't do it. And so I have to still do the arms, but I was successful at getting them in pretty decent here. I also opted to do the weapons at this point. So there's another level where I could have had this magnetized and then had a hole there and figured out something to do with the hole, maybe another item with a magnet. That was getting a bit of piddly for me, so I will always have these stumps, you know, even if I'm using the sword. They'll be painted over, but I don't know. It's not the end of the world. I kind of just left it at that. These guys here, I saw in another video someone say that this is a really tight fit here, particularly once you after you prime, and people not recommending even the need to magnetize. To be honest, I actually probably agree with that. I've tried it as well. I think they stay on really well, and so I'm probably not going to magnetize there. And so that's really it. I've got the one for the head, these guns, and then the arms, and I'm not sure how much more I'll be doing besides that, but we'll see. So this is kind of the pose I went for. I went for with the chest sort of following the pointing of this foot, and this one kind of coming out this way. So it can be kind of, you know, standing up against an assault, or, you know, I could potentially, if he had a sword and his shimmer shield, have him kind of turn this way, looking back to the side, you know, maybe with his gun up or something. So it creates a couple different poses, but that's really about it. I didn't go for using him as an action figure, I guess. And so, you know, for some people, I've heard people say that they've really enjoyed building the model. It's really a neat model, to be honest. Compared to some of the other stuff I've done, like, there's definitely some interesting engineering that went into this one, you know, and how it snaps together, and it has a lot of good form-fitting pieces, and it was a neat model to put together so far, but I'm not done because I still have the guns to do. But I am going to likely be doing a very typical Biel-Tan look. I know I've done some interesting light greens and some other interpretations on Biel-Tan for my aspects to be, and I've been, you know, I guess in my own mind, a little bit creative, but like my Guardians or my Wraith Lords, there are certain things that I like to make the standard color scheme because I want it to stand out as Biel-Tan still. And so he'll likely, I'm going for the white body look with the, you know, the shading of all the details with green accents and a green head is likely what I'm going for, because I want him to, he's a big piece on the field and I want it to really say Biel-Tan. Because it, you know, if you do something really, for me, in my opinion, if I do something radically different than the Biel-Tan look or an interesting interpretation, then it could, you know, it could make it look less like a Biel-Tan army, and so I don't want that to be the case. And so yeah, I'm gonna use my Createx transparent green like I did on my Falcon for some of the plates on the outside and the head, and then I'll be using grays and whites and shading and things like I've done on some of my prior stuff for the body. And so, okay, so that's where I'm at, and I will be back in the future with another update. Thanks, take care.